first one, and we haven't had that many severe thunderstorm warnings. I'm joined by meteorologist Ned Permy, and for Perry County and part of Conway County, we have a tornado warning in effect until 1:15. That'll be about 30 minutes. This is along, Ned, the leading edge of these storms that have had some wind along them.
We've had a lot of power outages with this line.
Yes, and a lot of wind around Hot Springs. There is damage around Hot Springs, about 15,000 people without power. But along the leading edge, you can also have a spin up, too.
Right, and I think that's what we're dealing with right now. And as this entire system moves into eastern Arkansas, we may see one or two others as the afternoon progresses. The problem that we're having, or it's actually a good problem, is the atmosphere is fairly stable with all of the rain that we've been having, but there's a lot of wind energy aloft, and that's what Barry has been alluding to, a lot of wind energy in the upper levels and toward the mid levels of the atmosphere, and that's why we're seeing a lot of power outages along this frontal boundary that'll be pushing into the state as the afternoon wears on. We are looking on VRAD right here with the signature just to the west of Apollo, Arkansas, moving in a direction that could take it toward Morrilton. I think that if this is a tornadic signature, right now it looks like it may be a fairly small one, but that's not to get your guard down at all. You still need to move into a very safe place near Morrilton, Apollo, in the vicinity of Petit Mountain, as well as this activity and this little cluster of thunderstorms that we're seeing some low-level circulation on is moving in a direction toward the northeast at about 35 miles an hour.
35 miles an hour. The whole storm line has a lot of wind, though, with it. And one of these little bow echoes, and folks, we don't know that this is a tornado at all, but one of these little bowed out segments came across DeGray Lake and caused power outages on the north side. It came through then the area, kind of the southwest side of Hot Springs, across Lake Hamilton, and on the north side of Lake Hamilton, there were a ton of outages too. So I'm going to say expect along the Arkansas River there, and this would be near Petit Mountain, kind of coming right across Petit Mountain right now. This is going to be a wind producer. If there is a small tornado within it, we're still only looking at wind damage. There could be wind damage aside from a tornado. But just rather be safe than sorry, this is the tornado warned area, and it's approaching Morrilton very quickly. So you folks in Morrilton, go to the lowest spot in your house, go to the most interior spot in your house, and it'll move pretty quickly by. A little wider shot of all of this I'm going to show you shows heavy rain through the Little Rock area, still strong storms, but in Saline County and back down into Hot Spring County, east of Hot Springs, the city. But and in South Arkansas, there is still, for El Dorado, there is a severe thunderstorm warning going on. It looks like north of Camden, maybe a little segment there that's bowed out. The broader picture, though, would show that eastern Arkansas has had very little rain. And it is warm over there, and it is very windy. And I'm thinking later this afternoon, if we have any severe weather to speak of, that could be a little more favored area. It's going to be a brief window because it isn't a very wide area. But look at that. There's no rain from Monticello to Star City to Stuttgart, DeWitt, Des Arc, Clarendon. Very little rain at all, just sprinkles of rain. In the meantime, we're watching this as it continues to move northeast toward Apollo.
Let's go to our 5 live Doppler radars right now, and we'll zoom in on the area that's in question right now. You can see it in southwestern sections of the Conway County area coming out of just along and just south of I-40 in southeastern sections of Pope County. We can see that thunderstorm that is moving toward the Morrilton area is the one that's in question right now. We'll get a track on this storm, and we will show you that it is moving at about 35 miles an hour, so the leading edge of the storm could be moving toward the Morrilton area, and eventually, if it holds together, could be moving into Faulkner County through Morrilton, Plumerville, Worcester, Greenbrier, and eventually at Damascus. And about an hour from now, about 1:42, again, that is the leading edge of the storm system, and we can also take a more broader area all along this small bowed out area, and that's one of the things that we're looking at, because this is what we also call a bow echo, where Barry mentioned there could be some spin-ups along it, and about 35 miles an hour or so, it could again be moving toward Morrilton, Plumerville at about 106, which is pretty quickly in about 10 or 15 minutes, and then towards Cedar Creek, Greenbrier at about 1:33, and then toward Guy, Arkansas, as it moves on into Faulkner County, and if it holds together. But again, this tornado warning along this small boat-out thunderstorm complex is in effect until about 1:15 this afternoon. And so we want to urge you, even though it may be a small system, a possible small spin-up tornado, which sometimes occurs along these bowed echoes, we want to urge you to move to a safe place, especially if you're in the vicinity of Plummerville and Morrilton. That is actually, right now, as we zoom in a little bit more, this is the only storm in the entire state, as you can see, moving right along Interstate 40 toward Morrilton and just to the north of Opelo. This is the only warned storm that we have in the entire state at the present time.
It is the strongest, and it has a little bit of that propensity to go out away from the line a little bit, and so it has wind with it. There's no doubt about that. And some of these have been wind producers already, but possibility of a tornado with it, and so that's why we're going to stay with it around the Morrilton area and maybe just to the west. I think the other storms down to the south, let's go back to VRAD if we can, and there are storms on the south side of this headed down below all the way from Perryville right down Highway 9 to Perrin and Owensville and just down to the east of Hot Springs, and it is approaching the western part of Pulaski County, but I don't see anything on there other than just very heavy rainfall. There'll be some wind with these, but this one that's out kind of by itself, and it has the tornado vortex signature on it, that's the one we're concerned about. Now, if we do a dissection of this storm, the kind of the tallest part of the cloud, the heaviest returns, none of it is over about 15,000 feet tall.
This is a very low-top storm.
It's a low-top storm, but it is getting some of the wind energy from above. And that's why this is not a classic supercell. This is nothing like would produce a large tornado. We don't see that at all. But it has such wind energy, and that was the only problem we anticipated possibly today, that some of these storms could tap into that. So Morrilton, you're going to be, it's right on top of you right now, and maybe just west of there. Conway, I think to a much less extent, is there any threat there at all?
I think regardless of the fact that if there is a small tornado involved in this bow echo, the biggest problem, as you mentioned, and we have alluded to, is some very high winds at the surface, which are going to cause power outages and some tree damage. We've already seen, as this entire system has moved through the Hot Springs area and on into sections of Perry County, we have seen some definite not only power outages, but some trees as well that have fallen.
Yeah, I just want to show you where we earlier had things like this happen. It was west of Arkadelphia, southwest of Arkadelphia, and southwest of Hot Springs. And here's the energy power map. And I'm going to go to an area around DeGray Lake State Park, about 841 without power there. Around the Hot Springs area, there are several outages. There's one with 1,000. There's 10,000 folks affected. And I'm going to zoom in on the area around Hot Springs. So it's all around Lake Hamilton. If you have a house along Lake Hamilton and even up into the southwest and west side of Hot Springs, you're likely without power. And now the energy system has 16,000 without, that's customers without power. So that's 16,000 individual addresses without power. And that was with an earlier spin-up of, we don't think it was spin-up of a tornado. I guess it could have been, but we're thinking straight line winds there. Not many outages in the village. And in West Little Rock, it looks like there's a few outages. Southwest Little Rock, 1,400 people without power. And that is down along, it looks like down along South Barrow Road, perhaps, in the southwestern part of our city. So there are a number of outages, as I said, and this wind energy is really the primary cause. There's a new tornado vortex signature that's west of Morrilton right now. It'd be near Blackwell. This is on the north side of this, Ned. It looks like the threat from Morrilton has greatly diminished.
And I'm looking at our 5 live Doppler radars, this cell which is right along Highway 64 and also just along I-40 moving toward the northeast. It looks like it has weakened a little bit. as we zoom in just a little bit more.
Yeah,
Atkins is away from this system. The system is well to the east of Atkins. And as I put the latest scope on this to check the storm relative velocity, I am not seeing a real classic